Call this meeting in order. Oh, there you are. Thanks. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Vanessa, will you please call the roll?
Sure. Chair Fleming,
Here.
Vice Chair Davis. Here. Treasurer DeVarty,
Already here.
Secretary Hatcher,
Here.
Trustee McKnight Morton. Here. Trustee Milliken,
Here.
Trustee Peck.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. All right, next up is the closed session. Do I hear a motion to recess the monthly meeting to go into closed session to discuss a written legal opinion by counsel and that we reconvene in open session upon completion?
Support.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis. Yes. Treasurer DeVarty,
Already yes.
Secretary Hatcher,
Yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton. Yes. Trustee Milliken,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Okay, trustees, head to ML 150. Thank you. Motion to reconvene the monthly meeting.
So moved.
Support? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to tab A. The recommendations that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes of the January 28th closed session meeting as submitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Support? Thanks. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to tab B, the monthly meeting. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes of the February 25th monthly meeting as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we are at citizen participation. First, I invite the WCCEA, Ms. Fournier.
Good evening. The WCCEA and college administration began negotiations for the 2025-2028 collective bargaining unit earlier this month. We've met twice since our last board meeting, and we are hopeful to continue to have productive meetings and come to an agreement in the coming weeks. In addition to negotiations, faculty are continuing to prepare for the transition to Canvas. Although there are still a few bumps that need to be ironed out, we are thankful for the continued trainings that have been offered through CITL and faculty professional development. I'm confident that the faculty are working hard to transition their courses to Canvas by summer 2025. As we move to Canvas, we are also still navigating the ongoing experiment of reimagining developmental education at the college. Preliminary data is beginning to come in, and we are seeing some areas that students are struggling without the foundation of developmental courses to prepare them for success in their college level classes. As we evaluate the success of this experiment, we call on the college to work with us to find the best way to meet the needs of our students. As I have stated before and will continue to remind the administration, we are a community college. We serve our community as a whole, and we need to remember our mission of providing accessible and excellent programs and services to all of our students. Finally, the last time that we met, I spoke about the DE&I changes the Trump administration is imposing on higher education. I have had an opportunity to speak with Dr. Belanca and Dr. Tucker regarding our concerns. We hope the college will continue to communicate openly and support the faculty in terms of the boundaries of academic freedom. Thank you.
Moving on to public comments. When I call your name, please come forward and you will have a limit of 3 minutes time. First on my list is Mr. Jeremy Haley. Are you here? There he is. Come on forward. Hi.
Hello, Jeremy Haley.
Mhm.
Thank you all for having me. First, I'd like to thank President Rose Blanca for getting the Power of the Purse Woman of the Year award. I don't know if you could all join me with a round of applause for her if we can.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next thing, I'd like to bring up some financial things. And I don't know if you guys are aware of private equity groups and how they deal with things. Have you heard of Joanne Fabrics, Big Lots, Party City, Forever 21?
Mm-hmm.
They were bought by private equity groups, and now they're going out of business. The function of them and people's pensions probably here are invested in some equity groups as well. That's why I'm telling you that they go through a thing called a back floating debt. And if you Google that term, it's the same thing as an adjustable rate mortgage, pretty much. And this is how they run these companies. And they make their also money through what they call the carried interest loophole. And I know some people have also mentioned that they're trying to close that because that's really unfair. But I'm telling you about this, that if you want to check into it, because I know I mentioned back in the fall that that gold was going to be reaching $3,000 an ounce. It's well over $3,000 an ounce the last time I checked. Something's going on in our economy, and it's going to affect us all. And it started way before Trump even got in office. I can go into more details, but I don't have enough time really on that. But I know there was one last thing. It's just on the tip. I just can't recall it right now. But I'll just leave it at that. If you all could just look into that, that'd be really great. And I don't know how you teach the business classes, but what's going on in business ain't right, because somebody's learned it from somewhere. And I can tell you I was affected by Joanne Fabrics closing up. I know that sounds weird, but I have a lot of fish tanks, and to save me money, I actually started making my own filters. And I could always go to Joann's and get the whole big box of filter media and use it, and now I can't, and I really don't like shopping on Amazon, and I think we all really should start shopping at our local stores and get off the computers, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Do that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next up on my list is Terrence Hilton. Is Terrence here? Please come on down.
Evening.
Hello.
I don't have bad speech. I had to leave class to discuss what the young lady talked about, the WCC Education Association. So I seen the video last week, and the things she talked about seems to be affecting us now. Well, my classmates, which they're back there, they're going to talk. The teacher received an email, presented us, told us about, because I'm in 168 intermediate algebra. So it was stated, if you get to the midpoint and you're passing level 3, but you failed the level 4 part of it, you'll get an NP. Didn't know what that was. She explained it. Explained that your GPA won't be affected, but the next part was financially. How does this affect us? And it was a maybe, yes or no, but there was no answer. And so this experience added more stress to me, because most schools I went to, when they did this, it didn't feel right. It's after midterms, and we're getting this information. So that was it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sir. Sir.
About his financial aid.
Yeah, Mr. Hilton. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood you. Thank
Yeah.
you. We have it. Thank you.
Yep.
We have it. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
we got you. Thank you, sir. Up next is, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, Sonia Hubanks? All right, thank you. Come on down.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to talk about 168 intermediate algebra, and the class is very accelerated. We were told in the beginning it's a level 3 to 4, and it's moving way too fast. We can't keep up. We're struggling with our testing and everything. And when I say moving fast, the first week we had Tuesday and Thursdays. Our class had Thursday, we had a quiz. And the next week we had an exam. And I don't absorb stuff that fast. And I'm fighting to maintain so I can move forward. And I'm possibly going into nursing. And this is affecting me because of the time. And I was told I had to take this specific class because they cut out 097. And I had to take this class so I can move next to take my chemistry. Then later I was told, no, I had to take this class to take stats, then chemistry to get to anatomy and physiology. So it's a lot going on. It's a struggle. And like Terrence spoke of, the financial part. We were told just recently that we can get an NP if we get a C or better and go from there. If not, we can still get an NP and go out. And if we don't make it to the end, but it's nothing clear. We're unsure what we're doing, what's happening, what's going on, how it's going to affect us with Reconnect, financial aid, and for students who are paying out of pocket. And with the program I'm going into, it's just a lot of confusion and it's a struggle. And we just need this class to be broken up. To me, it should be a level 3 and then go into a level 4, not merge together, rush us through. And the last thing, we found out that there's 4 classes, 1 full-time, 3 part-time teachers, and we're the only ones on time, on point, but a lot of us are struggling, so we just need support there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last, I have Alonzo Richmond. Please come on down.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. Just to reiterate what some of my classmates have already told you, this particular class in the beginning of the semester was told to us that we would need this class for the nursing program. And then we were told that this class would not suffice necessarily, but we were still going to have to take statistics as well. Knowing us for the nursing program, taking this course is going to get us into statistics. Statistics will get us into chemistry. Chemistry will get us into anatomy and physiology. So this course that we're taking now, Math 168, is very important. And the pace of this course is kind of irrational. To have 2 courses merged into one, and we're taking this course to where we are just this past week taking an exam on chapter 4 and 5. 4 and 5 is something that we covered before we even went on spring break. Now we're doing today a quiz on chapter 7. So something that we covered weeks ago, we're just being tested on, and then now we're already on to a totally different subject. So trying to retain information that was given to us weeks ago, also while taking a quiz on something that was given to us just last week, it's just becoming really, really hard. And I'm doing decent in the class, but to try to maintain a decent grade to get into the nursing program is really becoming a struggle. And as I told you before, if I don't pass this class, it kind of just is a domino effect for all the other courses as well. And then it eventually affects financial aid and being able to pay for classes, which this semester I am paying for my classes out of pocket. So you can imagine how anxious I am, I would say, how I, taking this course and everything, because next semester, what does that look like for me if I don't pass this? Will I be paying, for this class again out of pocket, or am I going to be able to get my financial aid and all this other stuff? So it's just a lot, and it's a lot of anxiety that comes along with this, a lot of stress that, as a student, you just don't need. So we're really trying to express our concerns about the pace of a course that really was unclear to us at the beginning of the semester, but now even through the middle of the semester, now we're being told something totally different. So we're really just concerned, and we really want, the best success for ourselves out of this semester, just so we can continue to progress on and everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
Vanessa, were there any written communications? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to special reports. First up, the American Cancer Society, Dean Leshkovich.
Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Leskovich, and I serve as the Dean of Enrollment Management and Student Experience here at Washtenaw Community College. I'm here tonight to provide a brief introduction to a special presentation from our partners at American Cancer Society. But before we begin, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to our dedicated WCC Student Development and Activities team for their ongoing commitment to supporting community charity walks on our campus. A very special thank you to Lisa Wheeler, our Director of Student Development and Activities, and Christy Main, our Supervisor of Student Activities, for their leadership in the work. It's now my pleasure to introduce Abby Samuels, Senior Corporate Relations Manager with the American Cancer Society. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, all. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I want to thank you for your time right now and listening, for hosting us, which I'll get into in a moment, and echo Pete's thanks of the Student Development and Activities, I'm going to say group, but I know that's inaccurate. And I want to also add to that the facilities team, which has been instrumental in the work we've been able to do on your campus. You have a phenomenal team overall. And Pete. So my name is Abby Samuels. I have been with the American Cancer Society for the majority of my career since 2012. And coincidentally, 2012 was the first year we began hosting the Making Strides of Ann Arbor walk here on campus. So while I'm filling in for a colleague who is the official staff partner, it is a true honor to be able to talk about this here, because this was like my heart and soul for so many years, in the rain, in the sunshine, all the ways for any of you who've been out. So I guess this is for me to progress, right? Okay. Okay, so I would love to pause for a moment and talk about the American Cancer Society and what we do both in Michigan and beyond. We are a national organization with a local impact. So we are improving the lives of people with cancer and their families all across the world, but specifically here in the United States and in our local communities, so that everyone can have an equitable and just opportunity to detect, treat, and fight their cancer diagnosis. We do that through discovery, which of course is research and what everyone thinks of when they think of the American Cancer Society, patient support, which is programs and services we offer, as well as advocacy, and we're the only organization that does all that. I have a couple numbers. I know some of you aren't facing this that are really exciting, and I'm going to highlight very briefly what's on the screen, but then I would love to talk for a minute about our actual local impact here in Washtenaw County before I talk about our impact here on campus. So behind you, you see some of those numbers are Michigan and some of them are national, and I should have made that more clear. But when I say patient support, I mean things like rides to treatment and transportation and lodging. So we know, for example, when someone is diagnosed with cancer, the biggest obstacle that they face other than insurance is actually transportation to their treatment. That can look like when someone's in a radiation going every day for 6 weeks. Even the most flexible families who can jump in and help, that's difficult. And a patient missing even one treatment can be detrimental to their cancer treatment. So that looks like in Michigan, we provided over 2,000 rides to cancer patients to and from their life-saving treatment through a Road to Recovery program, which is volunteers matched with drivers. We also provide grants. So I will share for a minute. During the pandemic, we had to get really creative about how we got patients to and from their treatments, because we couldn't safely put an immunocompromised person in a car with oftentimes elderly folks who are retired and driving people. So we started offering rapid transportation grants. Trinity Health, both the Ann Arbor campus and across the state of Michigan, have been continued recipients of transportation grants. So what that means is if they already have a program in place, we can help fund that program to make sure that people aren't missing their treatments who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to get there. This is part of the equitable and just way to fight cancer too, because we know that certain people are impacted more by something like transportation, and for them to have an equitable way to fight their cancer treatment, they need a ride. Lodging. We have two of the best hospitals right here in Washtenaw County from the state of Michigan, and some nationally. People come here all the time to get treated here. So if it's not a ride, sometimes they need a place to stay, and we can help with that. So whether we have a hotel partner locally, or right now we're funding through the cancer support community right down the street, lodging partners for the University of Michigan. A million things on the slide behind you. I won't bore you. Research. People think of the American Cancer Society and they think of research, and for very good reason. We are the largest funder of cancer research only after the United States government. So what that also means right now when we're looking at local partnerships is that we have more than $5 million invested just at the University of Michigan with research, $13 million across the state of Michigan. The University of Michigan currently is working with us to make sure that people know how to apply for ACS research grants, because as the second only to the U.S. government, as funding is being cut at the National Institute of Health, we are being inundated with research grant applications, and the work we're doing is more vital than ever. From another local support perspective, I will say that veterans are impacted highly by cancer and at a greater rate than other groups. And we are piloting having University of Michigan students who are in graduate programs be on-site patient navigators for people who might not have a smartphone to get through their information, to help sit there with them and navigate their patient treatment. I also want to highlight a national study right now called Voices of Black Women. So the American Cancer Society, in addition to funding research, we conduct our own. Historically, we've had these really large volunteer population studies, cohort studies, cancer prevention studies 1, 2, and 3, which help us understand what causes cancer. Actually, in 2012, we hosted an enrollment event here on site at the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. What we've learned from all those things, though, is that different populations and groups are impacted by cancer in different ways. We know that while our studies are diverse enough to be statistically significant, we still don't have enough information to tell the stories about why Black women are dying at an exponentially higher rate than white women when they're diagnosed with breast cancer, why people are being diagnosed at different times. And so the American Cancer Society launched a study, Voices of Black Women, enrolling and inviting 100,000 Black women to tell their stories of their lives so we can figure out why they're being impacted by cancer at this different rate. I could go on forever about this stuff that I'm very passionate about, but I will move on to the next slide about our actual event here on campus. Oh, I guess I'm waiting for someone to advance my slides. That's not going to help. Okay, our partnership history, Making Strides Against Breast Cancer of Ann Arbor, was founded in 2002. This is our local breast cancer walk, bringing together community members, survivors, thrivers, previvors, local sponsors, including our great hospital systems. And we had our first walk on campus here at Community Park in 2012. And it became our forever home instantly. Thank you to you. We left for a minute and we came back in 2022 because obviously we couldn't safely host events on campus. We had 2 virtual years. And then now this year we'll be celebrating our 24th year. I do want to highlight that this will be our 14th year with Washtenaw Community College. And in those years of partnership, we've raised greater than $2 million here on campus. That is huge. That is phenomenal. When we break that down in terms of any of our patient support things, and I might advance that slide in a minute because mine in the middle aren't amazing, that equates to so many tangible things in terms of research, in terms of programs, patient support, a call when you need help. It's something we're really proud of. I will also share that Washtenaw Community College has done this as a gift to us and to the community. So when I look at what we would pay to host an event on site at a similar facility with similar support from facilities, teams, and staffing, we would easily spend greater than $10,000 a year to do so. So if we take away the few years in the middle that we were virtual years and we look at this, and I could say we've easily saved $120,000, which is huge. That is a huge impact in the lives of people facing cancer. And so I want to say thank you to all of you for continuing to approve our requests. And thank you to Pete and his team and all the people who've helped support our event for those years prior. I had a plaque on order. It is not here with me yet, but that will come at a later date, which I'm grateful to be able to present to them. Okay, so with your approval, when it comes, we're hoping to host on October 25th. This is a little premature. I apologize. I'm going to skip these. These are kind of standard things. In case anyone's watching in the community, I would love them to go to our website. You can, follow this link, or there will be a link at the end. and learn a little bit more about Making Strides. Bring a survivor. If they sign up early, they'll get a free shirt mailed to them. Come and have a wonderful experience. The power we feel when we're all together makes us feel like we could actually take hold of cancer and breast cancer as we know it. Every dollar counts. So this is where I should have put this a little bit earlier. Tangible giving. So a lot of our community members, they raise their funds for an event like this. $10 donations, $15 donations, $100 donations at a time. And so when you think about that in terms of $120,000 saved or $2 million raised, that is so impressive. And sometimes people say to me, is my $5 donation really important? And I was actually with a breast cancer researcher locally. His name is Brock. He's from Shelby Township, but he is at the University of Michigan right now. And someone asked that question, and he said, yes, I study breast cancer at the most molecular level, and a $5 donation keeps one cell alive in a petri dish for an entire week. So that was like 8 years ago before $5, when $5 still bought a carton of eggs. But every dollar really does count. And so thank you again for helping us with hosting us here, for the cost savings, for helping us bring people together in your beautiful community park. And that's really all I have for today. I hope I didn't speak too fast. My colleague Alexis is the development manager for this event. So if anyone's watching and wants more information, you can reach out to her. If you have any questions for me, Pete knows how to get a hold of me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't have a question.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to know that each of the board members has our own screens. So
Oh.
I don't want you to sit down and think that we were not looking at your presentation.
Oh, no. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I wasn't thinking that at all. I was actually making eye contact with so many of you, and I appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
One other thing.
Yeah.
If you could just state the name of your website so people watching this
Oh.
can hear you say that.
Thank you so much.
So they,
Making.
I don't know what,
Yeah, no, great.
Yeah.
MakingStridesWalk.org/Ann Arbor MI. One word. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right, up next is the Department of Public Safety update. Provost Blakey, did you want to introduce this in any way?
I'd like to I'd like to introduce John Mitra, our Chief of Public Safety and Emergency Management, who will be giving the public safety update.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to provide an update for you this evening on our Public Safety Department. I'd like to begin by sharing 3 things with you that I truly believe drive the culture of our department. They provide direction for us and give us purpose, give purpose to the work that we do every day. Okay, the first is our mission statement, and it's the mission of the Washtenaw Community College Department of Public Safety to create a safe, welcoming, and inclusive community. We will ensure the protection of each person's constitutional rights and that all people are treated with equality, respect, and compassion so that they may focus on their educational development. The department and all employees are also committed to supporting the overarching institutional mission of the college. And as you'll see in the picture, our mission statement is proudly displayed right behind our reception desk. So as you walk into our lobby, you'll see Maurice, our wonderful OPT, and that mission statement is right behind him so where everyone can see it. And the next is our values, and our values are what drives us and inspires us to do what we do every day. They're reflected in pride, and pride for us stands for professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, and excellence. As you can see, those are not front-facing, but they are right by the door we go out to go on the job every day. Our values are what we see as we go out to do our job. And in the pictures, you'll see that's also where we administer our oath of honor to our non-sworn personnel. That would be Erica Hogan there on the left. And it's also where we administer our oath of office to our sworn staff. And on the right, you'll see that oath being administered to our Deputy Chief of Public Safety, Darren Shelby. And the third thing is our vision statement. And our vision is to be the leader in providing safety and service to our campus community. We will establish community relationships and partnerships in order to create a culture where safety is the responsibility of everyone. Our interactions will foster trust, mutual respect, and cooperation with all members of the community. The Department of Public Safety will be integrated into the culture as part of the fabric of our campus community and a resource for everyone. So here's what our staffing looks like currently. On the left is our sworn staff, and on the right would be our non-sworn staff. So our sworn staff consists of myself, Chief of Public Safety and Emergency Management, our Deputy Chief of Public Safety, Darren Shelby, our Sergeant, Lou Bigliardi, our campus resource officers, who are currently Paul Gomez and John Toth. And we have 2 vacancies that we are going to be filling with 2 police officer recruits that will be attending the upcoming session of the Washtenaw Police Academy starting in early May. On the right is our non-sworn staff. We have full and part-time public safety patrollers or public safety service officers. They are non-sworn. There are 3 full-time patrollers. One serves as our patrol supervisor, and he works on the midnight shift. We also have full and part-time dispatchers. They're also non-sworn. They are 3 full-time dispatchers, one of whom serves as our dispatch supervisor. To round out our staffing, we have a full-time OPT, a part-time accreditation manager, and all of this allows us to provide 24/7, 365-day coverage to our campus community. So what are the benefits of having your own police department that's embedded in the overarching umbrella of the public safety department? Well, we control the hiring and the training. We have improved response times. We have a unique campus presence and identity. We can do community policing every day, and we can do community policing the way we want to do it here at WCC. We have the tremendous opportunity for community outreach, ability to train our faculty and staff, as well as train our own DPS employees. So let's talk a little bit about hiring and training. So in order for a police officer to get hired on our campus, he or she has to go through a interview screening committee. That committee consists of our provost, a faculty member, chief of public safety and emergency management, our dean of students, our dean of WTMC, a student representative, and an academic dean. If they're successful in this process, they then would proceed on to an extensive background, which is conducted on all of our officers to include psychological testing, and all of this is done prior to being hired. So once hired, our officers are then integrated into the campus culture as part of the fabric of the community. And I think this is really important because for me, being part of the fabric of the community is being all interdependent on each other, right? Like a fabric is, and being part of the everyday. Right. So when we show up to things, when we arrive at things, and when we participate in things, people don't look at us and go, what's public safety doing here? Why are the police here? I don't know, what are they doing here? They look and they go, hey, there's John, there's Darren, there's Lou, there's Paul. And that's exactly the culture that we strive to create here on campus. Our officers are also possess a thorough understanding of community policing. They know we're a resource first, an enforcement body only as a last resort when no other options exist. And this all combined allows us to, whenever possible, deal with criminal activity through the student conduct process rather than the criminal court process. So I mentioned unique campus presence and identity, and as you'll see in those pictures, the 2 on the left represent one of our Coffee with a Cop events, and the picture on the right represents one of the many Welcome Day events that our department is proud to partake of. Again, I think this is great opportunities amongst others for us to display who we are to our campus community. And it all kind of centers around community policing, right? So our officers are visible and they're integrated into campus, like I said, like part of the fabric of the community. They know our faculty, our staff, and our students. They're approachable and they provide support. And many of our officers have years of experience in community policing, again, with a focus on support, not enforcement. I mentioned community outreach. Several of the things we do with regards to community outreach involve safety and security presentations, public safety tips, which we publish on occasion, Coffee with a Cop, which is done in our fall semester and winter semesters, our welcome days, where you'll frequently find us throughout the day staffing tables with various giveaways, and then just that daily visibility. I mean, there's not much that goes on campus that you won't see one of our people at, and usually several of them. So let's talk about training for a minute with faculty and staff. So one of the trainings we provide for faculty and staff is a campus safety and security training. This training involves familiarization with the WCC SAFE app, classroom and building security, physical security, card access, cameras, notification system, emergency lockdown features, weather emergencies, and evacuation assembly areas. We also provide lockdown drills. We do fire drills, active violent intruder training, rape aggression defense training or RAD training, de-escalation training, and emergency response preparedness, which deals mostly with our emergency action plans. And we're doing that training at the divisional meetings. So we also do training for our staff as well. And our staff also does active violent intruder training. It's a little bit different, the focus when we do it with faculty and staff is how to keep them safe and away from the danger. Our training is how to best go after the danger and make the danger stop and make our campus safe again. This is MCOLS required. MCOLS is the Michigan Coalition on Law Enforcement Standards. That is the licensing body for all police officers in the state of Michigan. We recently, through Paul Gomez's hard work, received certification from MCOLS to conduct our own in-house training. We're really proud of that because it offers us two things. One, the ability to do this mandatory training when it's convenient for us, when our schedules allow. We do train with other departments whenever we can, but we're not dependent on them now to get this training. And it also allows us, and I think this is even more important, to train where we work, to train on our campus, in our buildings where we're going to be dealing with that type of an emergency should it arise. We provide EvacuTrack training to our staff. Those are the chairs that are located on upper levels of our buildings. They allow us to be able to help those that are unable to navigate stairs to be able to get down those stairs out of the building and into a safe area. Active shooter exercise planning is also underway. We have a camera project that we are working on. When that project is complete, our goal is to run an exercise where we will be testing our dispatcher to see if they can identify a would-be shooter on campus, track that shooter through that new camera system, as well as coordinate a response from the sworn staff, that would be us, the police officers, and see how long that takes and how easily and how quickly we're able to mitigate that threat in that exercise. And we provide de-escalation training to our staff as well. In addition, there are many other trainings that we conduct semi-annually and annually as required by IACLIA accreditation standards. And before you ask, we're going to get into accountability now. And IACLIA is the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators. This is accreditation that we are seeking. We have been working on this for quite some time. IACLIA accreditation is based on worldwide best practices. In fact, our entire policy manual must support one of the 17 accreditation standards. This process began prior to my arrival on campus in 2022. And in order to show that we adhere to those standards, we have to submit proofs that show this. The culmination of this process is a final accreditation assessment. We are scheduled finally for that accreditation assessment in late April of this year. And if nothing changes between now and then, once we have attained that, we will be the first institution of higher education in the state of Michigan to have attained IACLIA accreditation. We're super, super proud of that. We also have body cameras that are issued to and required to be worn by all of our sworn staff, myself included. We are also responsible for the Jean Cleary Campus Safety Act compliance, which, among other things, is responsible for the publication of the annual security report and all training for our campus security authorities. And lastly, emergency management. So public safety is responsible for emergency management, a lot of emergency management. We are responsible for assisting with an upkeep of the emergency operations plan, the emergency operations center, and the crisis management team. The crisis management team meets periodically to review plans and procedures. We conduct tabletop exercises with team members. In fact, we have one scheduled with marketing and communications for this Thursday. And we do a yearly regional tabletop with first responder partners to include the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the Michigan State Police, Pittsfield Township Police, Eastern Michigan University Police, Trinity Hospital, Huron Valley Ambulance, and the Ann Arbor Township Fire Department. And with that, that concludes the update of our Public Safety Department. Thank you.
Any questions? Diana first and then Bill.
Very good.
Oh, thank you.
I really liked it. You did a good job.
Appreciate that.
If you don't mind, I have a couple of questions. First of all, what is tabletop?
Oh, that's a great question. So a tabletop exercise is much like this. There's a PowerPoint that goes through a scenario, and then the people that's sitting around the room, this, like as I mentioned, these are our first responders. They would each provide input as to what they would do at each stage. So typically a tabletop starts with, it's just a normal day on campus, and here we are doing whatever, and this happens. And then what does that mean? Where do you go? And then the next slide will then advance that into a more serious situation where we start bringing in more resources and more people around the room start contributing. And so by the time we're done, we've pretty much outlined, again, God forbid that something like this happens, what everybody around us is going to be doing.
Okay. My next question is, how many officers? I don't think I heard you say how many full-time officers and part-time.
So staff all tallied is 28. We have 28 staff, including full, including full, part-time, sworn, and non-sworn staff.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Good. All right. Then my next one is camera securities around the buildings. Are they inside, outside? All the perimeters? Explain to me about the cameras.
We have coverage outside and inside.
And perimeters, parking lots.
Parking lots, we can see most of the parking lots. I believe we have, you know what, I'm not 100% sure on that. Let me get back with you on that, but I want to say that we have eyes on just about all of our parking lots with our camera system.
That would be nice.
Yep.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief, when the department is hiring, what kind of an applicant pool do you see?
It's a good question. So first, for experienced staff or for staff that would be going to the police
freshly
academy?
graduated or people that are sworn and have experience?
So the reason that we're sponsoring police academy applicants is because we haven't seen a lot. And I can share with you that is not a problem that is just WCC is experiencing. Our sergeant is in Eastern Michigan School of Police Staff and Command. He is probably in there with conservatively 30 other departments. 2 of those departments are fully staffed. 2.
When we were in Washington, D.C. for the National Legislative Conference, one of our keynote speakers threw a bunch of statistics at us. One that stuck with me is that law enforcement in community colleges around the country is down 12% last year. And that sort of supports what you were saying.
Yes, sir. Yep.
When you bring these other departments to campus, are you also providing a tour of the campus so that they are familiar with the buildings and the layout of the campus and the facilities that are here?
We haven't done that with when we do the tabletop because they usually take a while and people are busy with their schedules. But you know what? It would be a great idea to offer that up. That's a great suggestion. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Remember we had that grant that mapped our entire campus, and so when emergency management comes, they have a map of everything on our campus, including every single door.
Yeah, so we did critical incident mapping. So any departments that respond will be able to get a very detailed map with lots of quadrants and give specifics as to where they're going to be going. So absent that tour, to be familiar with the buildings physically by being able to see them in 3 dimensions, those maps that we had done take minutes, seconds, if not minutes, off of response times to get help where we need to get help.
Mm-hmm. And when were those maps created?
Was that last year?
Last year.
Last year.
And do you have the ability to update them so that when a change to a building occurs, the map can also be updated?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. The state provided grant money because to all the K-12s plus community colleges for that incident mapping to be completed, and the contract that we have, they update for 5 years. It automatically updates any change, and the software company automatically comes and updates the maps.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Dave?
I've got several. Actually, one just to follow up on that. Did all the community colleges in the state that were available, that grant was available to, avail themselves of it? Or, I mean, I want to know how, if we're just one of many, or if we really set a standard and went out front to make this happen.
I don't either. I don't know. I could find out for you though.
We were
That's
one
an
of
MCCA question
Okay.
to ask the other presidents.
And still more follow-up. Have the universities like U of M or MSU, Eastern, have they done a similar thing for their campuses? Or is it, I mean, I'm just interested, because that's something that it really sets us apart.
Sure.
For readiness for an emergency response. And I'd like to see other institutions following our lead on that. So that's just follow up on that. Then a follow up on the staffing. So you've got a chief, deputy chief, sergeant, and how many sworn officers besides that?
4.
So that's a sworn staff of 7.
Yes.
And all of those are full-time?
Correct.
No part-time sworn?
Correct.
And then of the non-sworn, which are the people that tool around and answer questions and are available to let faculty into locked doors if necessary, things like that. How many full-time versus how many part-time, and are they all unionized?
So there's, out of the remaining, what would that be, 21, there are 3 full-time dispatchers, 3 full-time patrollers. The rest are all part-time. None are unionized.
None of even the full-time?
Correct.
But you said you had one OPT person.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Yes, our OPT is in union, yes.
And he's a dispatcher?
No.
Or he or she?
No, that would be Maurice, who's at our front counter.
Okay. So that's the staffing numbers. The other question I have, and something I'd like to see as a regular thing, is some sort of, just has to be written, incident reports, types and numbers. So we can kind of look and see if there are certain types of problems, like thefts out of the locker room or thefts at the facility, the athletic facility. Or out of cars or whatever. Pardon me?
Are you nitpicking on that?
No, I just want to see it.
For what?
Let me see it, okay? Yeah, I think it's important for us to be seeing these things. I mean, we could see if there's trends happening. I don't see how it would hurt.
I've never asked that before.
Yes. Is this something that would be easy to provide?
So any of our incidents regarding any type of crime that takes place on campus is recorded in our daily crime log, and then those logs are available to review on our website.
So those are posted on the website. So it would be an easy thing to just print out and
I believe we post by month. I'm not 100% sure on that. I can
put into our reports, just like we have a facility report every month, and you wouldn't have to come and go through it unless there's something important.
You could go to the website.
Yeah, just go to the website.
I will go to the website and look at it and see if there are maybe some areas that I'd like to see on a regular basis. That's it. Thank you very much. Oh, and I want to compliment you on the community activities with the lunch with a cop or coffee with a cop. I think that's really excellent way to be out there in the community and people meet the officers and feel comfortable with them.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you come to this board once a year? How often do you report to us about your staffing and your activities?
About once a year, yeah.
Once a year? I don't know. It might be useful to have it more than that and have some statistics about incidents reported at the same time. But maybe next year you could include the incident reports. And I think I would appreciate having you give brief reports more than once a year, but no one else seems to want them. So.
You can still get it off of the online.
We can get it all online. We don't have to have a meeting at all.
So you're referencing, I'm sorry, I don't mean it.
I would say that, I regularly attend, township and city council meetings, and it's a very standard item on the agenda to have the police department report their activities. And I will also say that they're very mundane. We had X number of runs, we had X number of, complaints, we addressed, whatever we were called in to assist at with this issue or that issue. But it is a very standard element of these meetings. And so it doesn't seem unusual, these requests that are being made, that you that you present that information at the board. Whether it's publicly available or not is not the question. It's just a matter of presenting that to the board. And so that was all.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's not an issue. I think, once a year. You were here last year? You were presented to us an update last year, did you say?
Yeah, last year, the year before.
Yeah. Maybe the idea of quarterly, that would be good. Nothing monthly. No, we don't need that. Quarterly, I believe, will suffice in providing us the information that we're looking for. So, yeah.
Anybody else? None? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
One other further question. Have we ever been called upon by ICE to participate with them on any activity on this campus?
We have not since I've been here.
Do we have a policy or guidance that you would be helpful in case that request was made?
Didn't we do something like that before, President?
I know the sheriff's department has some policies about how they comply with ICE requests.
President Blanca, don't we
Sorry,
have a
didn't hear that.
directive for staff to
Yes, we
direct
do.
anybody to-
Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what your question was.
Okay.
Could you repeat it again?
I just, first I asked if we had been requested by ICE to participate in any activity that they might have had on our campus. And then I asked if we had policies in place that would give guidance if that request should come.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, I think about a month ago, we sent a notification to all the faculty and staff about how to handle it if they were approached. Okay. We might have sent it. I don't know.
I vaguely recall something about that, but I can't remember if you sent it to us or not. But I kind of remember that.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it.
Okay, then it might be in your email.
Okay.
We'll check.
I'll be happy to send that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any
Thank you.
other questions?
Yeah, thank you. That was really good.
Ruth, go ahead.
I don't have a question for you necessarily, but I do have a question about our reports. We have regular reports, the 3, but didn't we used to have a monthly sheet that told us month by month which special reports we were going to see? Did we used to have
That one in January, I think.
She put one out.
We have. You did it in
Yeah, and
January.
it wasn't special reports, it was the regular reports that we would do every
Yeah, well, the
year.
regular
Yeah.
reports, but we've never had a series of special reports. That's determined monthly. Thank you.
All good? All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our regular reports. Tab C, the personnel recommendations. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the personnel recommendations as submitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody want to say anything about tab C? Go ahead, Ruth.
First of all, thanks for saving paper. Since it was only one page and it was on the back of the front part. The full-time new hires in HR, do they have there's a director above these 2 people? Is that position open or is it reorganized?
That position is filled, so
It's
there,
filled.
that's correct. There is a director above them,
Okay, who is it? Could you?
Carl. Carl Embry.
Carl is there. Okay. Um,
And that is the new position.
right.
Was Carl's position.
And there's no, the word diversity is not in their job description?
No, it is not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to tab D, the financial reports. Before we get into that, VP Barnes, anything you want to highlight for us?
So we are 8 months through the year, so about 2/3 of the way through the year, and the 2 months through the winter semester. You can see there, if you look at the winter tuition under the revenues, we are $800,000 favorable to what we had in the budget. Our head count is up for the semester by over 4%, and our credit hours are up by almost 6%. So doing very, very well. And as I highlighted in previous months, even better than the fall semester, which is pretty unusual. The student fees, of course, in line with that trend, and total tuition and fees up by 1.7 million year to date. Property taxes, you see a negative variance there of about 600,000. That's completely timing. So we're actually already in March, we're already back up to speed. So it should be back in the black next month. It just timed a little different than we were expecting. State appropriations, it's a little bit better than we had budgeted. I expect that number to stay approximately where it is right now throughout the year. The trade partnerships, little changed from last month. Investment income continues to do well. Interest rates have been staying higher for longer, so therefore we're doing quite well with our short and long-term investments. Other, similar to prior months, continues to be negative. I would expect that to continue to be negative throughout the year based on my prior explanations. And auxiliary activities, mostly conference services. We had the IBEW, the union on campus, which was a very large favorable variance for us, as well as some public surplus, sales of our surplus equipment. So in total there, the revenue up for the year, you can see there at about $4 million. In terms of expenditures, first I'll talk about the community services, the two negative items. Community services, per explanations in the past, that is the cost related to our conference services. So that conference service revenue is higher, therefore the cost is also a bit higher. Utilities, I've explained in the past as well, is slightly more negative because we had a very cold January, but otherwise similar to where it's been in past months. In total there, the total expenditure is about 5.5 million favorable. Some of that is timing. There are some savings with respect to vacancies and attrition and so forth, but I would say that our vacancies are 10% less than they were prior year, so we have been chipping away at it, but there are still some vacancies. But some of that is timing as well. So in total, year to date, we're doing better than budget.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, and if you could agree or not, it looked to me like the investment income would continue to be favorable, even more favorable by the end of the year than it is now.
Yes.
So I would say that we might have another $500,000 maybe by the end of the year. Maybe?
At the upper end, yeah. I would expect it probably to be around 1.8, 1.9 by the end of the year.
Which is still, almost.
I mean, it could be too. It depends on where interest rates continue to move, because we can predict our long-term investments pretty much to the penny. The short-term moves with interest rates. So it depends on where the money market goes, but yeah, it'll be close.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none? Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees receive the financial reports for February, general fund, capital fund, combined schedule of investments, all funds as submitted.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, tab E, the facilities report. Mr. Whipstock.
Good evening. I'd like to update you on several of the projects that we've been working on for at least the past month. On this report, let's see here, a couple updates that happened actually after I submitted this. The Health and Fitness Center fire alarm system is complete, passed inspections yesterday, so we will be closing that off of this list. And the parking lot lightings are all complete. The last one, which there's two 11s, it should be 12 on there. The site lighting is we're going to be starting all the walkway lighting. So all the parking lot lights are complete. We're going to start doing all the walkway lightings as well. Getting into, how do we go to next tab? Up, yep. Okay, shipping and receiving building, one of our capital projects that we're working on. All the demo was complete. Most of it was done during the spring break. We are now starting the rough electrical and plumbing within the building. This project's still on target to be done by the end of May. The camera project, you heard a little bit about it. We're still waiting for the frost laws to be lifted so we can get these cement pads poured for the control panels and get the wiring done. As soon as that, we're expecting probably within the next couple weeks for the frost laws to be lifted, and we'll start pouring the pads. Student restroom renovation project. The big portion of it, the demo was done during the spring break. All the restrooms that were the first phase were demoed during that time period. Very noisy process, demoing all the tile on the floor. One of the things that we are doing with the restroom renovations, we're looking at all the infrastructure, the piping and everything to make sure it is sound and secured. One of the other things that we have done is when they built the building, I joking that I think there was a moratorium on valves, but there wasn't a lot of valves put in place so we could isolate restrooms to work on it. So we are actually installing valves to isolate restrooms in the future if we have to do any type of major maintenance. To give you an example, that we shut the men's restroom down on the dock in the SC building, and it shut all the water off all the way into the Java spot. So it's very disruptive the way it was built. So we are remedying that solution by adding valves to these bathrooms. One of the other projects that's still ongoing that we did during the spring break was getting the lighting up in the student center on the first floor, which is a very busy place. So we took the opportunity to start doing the lighting on that area. A lot of this lighting is not, I don't want to say common lighting, but it's more aesthetic type of lighting, so it was a little bit more complex to do than our normal lighting, but we did work on that during the week. The other one, the ball diamond is actually up and ready for the baseball season, so this project is complete.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Other than that, that is my report.
Any questions? Go ahead, Ruth.
I have a theoretical question, and it could become very political, so if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Is the parking structure, since it's done, less expensive to maintain than the parking lots?
Right now, yes, because we're redoing the parking lot, the parking lots. But every 3 years, every 3 or 4 years, but we have to do what they call like a major maintenance. And we just spent last year was about $150,000 to go through it to reseal it and look at all the parking lot has tendons in it that hold it together. So a lot of that's inspections and making sure that those are coated and covered. So about every, I think it's 4 years maybe, we have to spend about 150 grand to go through and do that type of maintenance.
But we don't have to, the light, well, it seems as though we're spending a lot of money on the parking lots, that's all. And not that we want to build another structure, I was just curious.
Yeah, parking lots, the average life of a parking lot is between 12 and 15 years old. And we're at that point where they're 12 and 15 years old. So we have 2 parking lots left to do. And then all of the parking lots will be complete. And then the last one is our roadway around campus. That'll be fiscal year 27, I think, if I'm correct.
And we won't have to pave them again for 5
No,
years?
one of the things that, and I think it's on here, is one that we are making sure that we do is maintain crack fills of the parking lots. So parking lots will get cracks, and if you don't get in and fill them in, water gets underneath, freezes, lifts them up. So Holly, our grounds manager, has a program every year that she goes through and, does crack filling. So we are very diligent about keeping that going.
I've been paving parking lots ever since I've been on the board, so I was just wondering how that was going.
So we
Thank you.
have parking lots 3 and 2 to do, and then we'll be complete around the campus.
Whole car thing is expensive, that's
Yeah.
what you're saying. Okay, got it.
Go ahead, Dave.
I just want to say to the public and to other board members, the cost of creating a parking space in a structure exceeds $70,000 a space. Surface lots are way less expensive. Some people think that you don't have to maintain a parking structure like you do a lot, but that's not true. When I was on the Downtown Development Authority, when I first got on, we had to completely tear down, and the first thing we did, tear down and rebuild the forest structure in Ann Arbor because it had not been maintained, and all the iron in there gets corroded if you don't seal it up, seal the cracks just like you do in a parking lot. But if you don't seal the cracks, and cars come in the winter and drag salt in, and precipitation and condensation, and that salt migrates into the steel supports in the parking structure, and then you have huge rehabilitation costs. So I just want to say surface parking is a lot cheaper, both in creating and in maintaining. Unless you would disagree with that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Trolley system? Never mind.
Unless you.
Angela?
I just have a general question. So the status on majority of all the project here are in progress. So with all of these being in progress, and some of them are just probably annual maintenance, but for the other projects here that have end dates, what is the timeline where we'll see more completion and less in progress status?
Some of this, right now, like the OE substation expansion, that was supposed to have been completed by June. We got word that the materials won't be until the end of August. So a lot of this stuff, especially when you get into the electrical portions of it, we're seeing significant delays of material. So it's actually pushing some of these projects out. We're starting like the parking lot. We started them now doing the engineering. And when we do the engineering, we do core sampling to make sure that the underground is set. That engineering will take place. We're hoping to have that out for bid and done actually right after the UA event in August. So the planning starts way up front in order to execute it properly. So yeah, some of these you'll see on there for quite a while. LED lighting is a multi-year, we got almost 19,000 fixtures campus-wide to have to be changed out. So that's multiple years you'll see that on here.
Thank you.
Any other questions? None? All right, thank you so much. All right, remarks of the Board of Trustees. Would anybody like to say anything? Bill, you go first.
Thank you. The Detroit Free Press had a front page story last week that President Blanca referenced in her board memo, but it was really a coup because it cited the shortage of automotive technicians, and it referenced one of our WCC students, Eduardo Villasenor, and then it went on to talk about Tom Buttman, who is an advisor to us and the department on some of the programming that we do, about his graduation from Washtenaw Community College and then hiring Eduardo at Buttman Ford. And it was front page, above the fold, as they say, and that expression is an old print expression when they're in the newsstand. Above the fold means that when you walk in the grocery store, you can see the headline and see the story. And that's where WCC and Tom Buttman were. It was a great accomplishment.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Please take seriously the recommendations for people to speak at graduation. And perhaps Mr. Buttman would like to speak.
Great idea.
Okay, we'll put them on the list. But if you have other suggestions, please submit them either to me or to Vanessa, so we can have a great graduation as usual.
Tom Buttman was on a panel at the Detroit Auto Show with President Blanca and spoke well and eloquently, so he's certainly capable, and I'll bet he'd be flattered to be thought of.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm not in charge.
Two things. First of all, I'd really like to thank the students that spoke in public speaking tonight. I think it takes a lot of courage to come out here, and it's really very important for those of us in administration and on the board to hear these concerns from people when they're experiencing them, and I really want to give a thank. I don't know if any of them are still here, but I really appreciate that input from those students, and I'm sure it's been heard because I saw some of the administrators here taking copious notes while they were speaking. So I want to say thank you to those students. Secondly, I just want to do a shout out for one of the great things that happens in Ann Arbor every year, the Ann Arbor Film Festival. And it's the 63rd Ann Arbor Film Festival that's happening this week. I'm missing the opening gala tonight, but I'm sure there are some other students and filmmakers here at the college who are there and will be there through the week. I say this as it's just such a wonderful thing that puts Ann Arbor on the international map. And since we have one of the strongest film programs in the state, and our students continue in collegiate competitions to do very, very well, outcompeting students from their movies and films, outcompeting and gaining awards, more awards than students from four-year universities. So I just want to say it's a wonderful opportunity for our students to participate in a local festival, and want to do a shout out for the festival. If anybody has any spare time when we're not in meetings, which I know we have an extra meeting this week, please take a minute and go down to the Ann Arbor Film Festival at the Michigan Theater on Liberty Street in Ann Arbor.
Through the dates.
It's through this week. Winner's night is Sunday. So if you want to forego a lot of the movies that are, it is an experimental film fest. So sometimes you say, wow, that's a great movie. But sometimes you say, whoa, what was that? And it's all kind of wrapped up in a show, in a 1.5 hour program of shorts. But the winner's night, it's a juried program. There are 3 jurors that come internationally to dole out the awards. It's a juried festival, and the winner's night is, without fail, accessible to all viewers. And that's on Sunday night. There are 2 programs.
Diana?
Okay. So SIMCOG, which I am a vice president of the education, they call it block. Anyway, we had our meeting at the Grand Central Station down in Detroit on Thursday.
Michigan Central.
Michigan Central, thank you.
Grand Central's in New York.
New York, all right. Well, it looked like the Grand. That's
It
why I
is.
said it. It is gorgeous in there. And if you haven't been, it's really worth your time going. So anyway, there was a lot of things going on. Besides, we had a tour, and then we had our meeting. And one of the things that really pushing is the flushable wipes. And I have this card here so that I can order, if the college is interested, I can order some more of these so we can set it out for the students and faculty, where they can get a hold of this. On one side, the flushable wipes, and discusses that. On the other side, it tells you what not to put down in the toilet. In any drain is fats, oils, and greases. So one side is for the toilet, one side, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, and the other side is grease. And then the other placard, it's a storm water to keep it fresh, dump, no waste, no oils like motor oil and stuff like that. So that's on one side, and the other is about the Great Lakes and how great our Michigan lakes are, because all of that other stuff flows directly from the Leader lakes into the Great Lakes. So I'll make sure I pass it on. Thank you.
Can I make one quick clarification? Flushable wipes are not flushable.
Right.
They don't break down. So if you want to have to call Roto-Rooter to root out your drain pipes, flush those flushable wipes down your toilet. If you don't want to call Roto-Rooter, do not flush the flushable wipes down the toilet. Just when you said flushable wipes, I had to take a look at that flyer because they're not flushable.
Does Roto-Rooter give away flushable wipes?
No, they recommend not using it.
It does say on their flushable wipes at the top, but they say they clog our pipes. So that's what he's just going on. Thank you.
Okay, any other board members want to say anything? Okay, President Blanca.
Yes, thank you. Last week, I had the pleasure of speaking at the Ann Arbor Rotary Club, and it was at U of M, and it was really well received. The Ann Arbor Rotary has been very generous with the college, and we have over 20 scholarships that they have given us, and so it was a pleasure to speak with them. We also have a student that won second prize in the Broadcasting Award for the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, and Yama McGuire competed in the College Audio Public Service Announcement category and went on to win one of the top awards in the state. She was the only community college student placing the top 3, with Michigan State taking first and third. So that was great. Our student art show is on display at the Student Center. I hope you've had a chance to see it. It's really very well done. I'd like to thank the faculty and staff, and I'd also like to thank Dean. Thank you so much, very much. We are also excited to be hosting the 8th annual CCAT Global Symposium on Mobility Innovation. We do this, I think this is our 8th year maybe? Is it our 8th? I'm pretty sure. We are the only community college that is working with the University of Michigan and Purdue University, and so it really is an honor for us to be working with them. So universities do the research, and we figure out how to apply it, technically. So it's a really great partnership. And Washtenaw Economic Club is Thursday from 11 to 1:30 next Thursday. Not this Thursday?
This Thursday.
Thank you very much, Board of Trustees. I'm really glad that you read your board memo.
Not see you next Thursday.
Thank you. That was a test.
Good.
Okay. And also Power the Purse. I'm honored that I'm recognized this year, by the power of the purse. And if you'd like to come to the luncheon, please let Vanessa know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving forward, tab F. Let's see, VP Barnes, you want to tell us anything about the tax rate?
This is simply authorizing us to use this rate in our budget preparation.
Let's review for now. Any questions on this? We see this every year. All right. Tab G, appointment of the WTMC Board of Directors. Provost Blakey, did you want to say anything here?
This is the board. The WTMC has a vacancy on their board of directors, and so they're putting through the recommendation for that one of those vacancies to be taken by Anthony Williamson, who is not new to the college. So this is a discussion item. His background, of course, he's spent a lot of time at the college in different roles, but his role with supporting education in the community. The WTMC feels like that would be a very good fit for their board. So that'll be a item to approve next at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions on this board? Okay. Tab H, the Microsoft contract renewal. Provost Blakey again.
Gary, is Gary coming up? You're going to do this.
I'm doing it.
Thank you.
So I'm here to discuss the Microsoft campus renewal. And sorry. So our Microsoft campus renewal, we last time had a 3-year renewal, and so it's time our contract will end this June. And so, sorry, I'm not seeing what you guys are seeing. So we use Microsoft Suite, which includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint for our administration and our instructional purposes since the early 1990s. The Microsoft Suite operating system and our related applications were adopted by the college as the software standard. We also introduced cloud collaboration tools in 2018. So that's SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams that are used across the college by departments to share documents. Teams is used across the college for collaboration in either group meetings or in individual calls as well. We moved our faculty and staff email to our Microsoft Exchange Outlook 3 years ago. We recently deployed Microsoft Entra as our security platform when we are doing multi-factor authentication. So that's part of the Microsoft Suite and all of our online services. So as faculty and staff are accessing any of our online services, they use the Microsoft Entra for multi-factor authentication. As I stated earlier, our Microsoft agreement expires at the end of June, and so this is discussing moving forward with another renewal. Our prices for Microsoft products are defined at the state level by the Regional Educational Media Center Association of Michigan, or REMC. So again, when we're not really negotiating the prices because those prices are set at the state level. CDW is the authorized fulfillment agent. So again, you don't buy the product directly from Microsoft. You buy it through an authorized fulfillment vendor, which is CDW, and they enforce the REMC pricing. So very recently, Microsoft changed the way they do licensing. So in the past, the licensing was basically based on FTE, which would be a full-time equivalent model. They've now moved to what's called an educational qualified user model. Using this model, which basically says that every one of our full-time staff, every one of our faculty that are teaching is counted as a needing a actual license. This model of calculating licenses has nearly doubled the number of licenses required for WCC. So, and they also, what Microsoft did in this round is we used to have an A1 plus license that we were able to get. Microsoft no longer provides for those licenses to educational institutions. The A1 plus license allowed for faculty and staff and students to be able to download a copy of the Microsoft Suite to their personal computers. Now a minimum of an A3 license is now required for that. And certainly the A1 Plus is used by our part-time faculty. We don't issue computers to our part-time faculty. So this A1 Plus license was used by them to download the software on their personal machines. So now the premium, the A5 license is what we're recommending. And the reason we're recommending that is because it has a lot of built-in security features. Some of those features are the Defender for Office 365, which was normally the advanced threat protection. That protection, that safe attachments, it scans all email attachments for malware, viruses, and zero-day protection. It also has safe links, which proactively protects users from malicious URLs in email messages, in Office documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It also scans documents and files that are opened and protects to make sure that there's no malware in those documents. It also reviews and protects documents that are in our SharePoint, our OneDrive, our Microsoft Teams. Again, those are tools that are used across the campus, and so it reviews those tools for malicious files. There's also real-time reports of high priority. I have to really apologize because my updated PowerPoint did not get here, so I apologize very profusely. We have real-time reports of high priority security and compliance issues as well. And the software also provides for attack simulation training. So one thing that A5 is also providing, which we feel is very important for the campus, is automatic classification of documents and files. So it scans all cloud stored files for PII, which again, we've talked about in security meetings before. So Social Security numbers, bank accounts, credit card numbers. And so it, when it sees any of the PII information in files, then those documents are flagged so that they are not accessible by outside agencies. It also provides for auto dial-in service for Teams meetings. So we now use Zoom, which allows for that dial-in service, but with the A5 license, we'll be able to set up Teams meetings, and it'll also have that dial-in process. So if someone's off campus, if they're not able to access the Teams meeting, they can dial in for the meeting. This A5 license also provides for the ability for us to move to, we have a very outdated phone system that will be in need of replacement in the near future. So the new type of phone system would be UCAS, and so the A5 license would allow us to move to that new phone type system. That's not allowable on the lower licenses. And this A5 license also provides a ratio of 40-to-1 licenses, and so we're ordering 1,655 staff licenses. With that 40-to-1 ratio, we would then have over 66,000 student licenses for the Microsoft Suite that is provided at no additional cost. So the recommendation with the new pricing model that Microsoft is using, the one-year quote is for $214,809. We're recommending a 3-year renewal, which would be a a total cost of $644,427 over that 3-year period.
I just want to make sure the board understands. I know that you said it, and thank you. You did a great job. Sorry about your PowerPoint slides. But to make sure you understand the pricing difference and what, so could you repeat that again? You did a good job, but the price has gone up, obviously. But changing from the FTE structure to the, per user structure is what has caused that price to escalate.
So when we use that FTE, our FTE would be approximately 820. Again, they're looking at your full-time staff, your part-time staff, and again, but everything's counted as full-time equivalent, which is a lot of calculations for a lot of software that we have. They'll have like what is your kind of FTE? Even though we're an institution of 11,500 students, our FTE is more like 7,500 because a lot of our students are not full-time. So, but with this new pricing model, we're now having to we're being charged for 1,655 licenses. So that's all of our full-time faculty and staff, as well as faculty that are teaching in any given semester, because they need the license to be able to access the tools that they need. And so that's where the majority of the price increase. Many institutions across the United States with this new pricing model are seeing kind of major increases in pricing. We also have the increase in pricing because of the security applications that have been added to the Microsoft suite, which we have not had in the past on the suite.
Go ahead, Dave.
So the FTE, that's full-time equivalent, wouldn't two part-timers equal one full-time equivalent?
That's right, but they don't do that model anymore. So now, if you're a part-time
per user?
Per person, correct.
Per user.
So that's where this
So that's why we need
1,555,
1,600.
1,600 would be all of our full-time faculty and staff and the part-time instructors who are teaching in a given semester.
And then when you multiply that out, the 40 to 1, it's way more student.
Way more students, correct.
Can we use that as a benefit, say when the UA comes in for their training? Can we say one of the benefits you have is you can get some of these so we have a tremendous amount, if we do this contract, we would have a tremendous amount of excess student licenses, but wouldn't those UA students who are training, would they be able to, could we give that as a benefit?
Yes, they already have that. They already have that benefit.
Oh, okay.
And I know 66,200. That's a little bit extra, but if you think about when a student is enrolled with us and they don't, they continue to have their email address for 2 years or 6 semesters after they enroll with us. With the hope, a lot of them come back, may skip a semester. But generally, we'll have at any given time almost 40,000 students with an active email address. And so that 66,000 is like, oh, that's lots extra. It's not a whole lot extra. It's some extra, but not a whole lot extra.
So would those alums still have access to?
Yes, because as long as they have their active email address, they would be able to use their license.
And what's our policy for how long they could keep the active address? As an alum, or as a former student, right?
So they are active for 6 semesters after they are stopped being enrolled.
So 3 years.
2 years. 3 semesters a year.
Because of spring summer.
Yes. It's 2 years.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
But UAS.
Trying to get a benefit from those extra spots.
I understand. I understand.
And I'm sure you guys are trying to work that out too.
This is just the 41 is just what a standard amount that they provide with their license.
So I understand all the need for the increased cost for the way they're doing it, for the increases in security, for all the changes and benefits they've had. How much more are they charging us than what we paid this year?
This year we paid $69,340.
So they're tripling our costs, basically.
Approximately, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
My 66,000 license question you've just answered. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, you
go
said
ahead.
it, our current contract ends in June?
That's correct.
That is correct.
So this is the discussion item for approval at
Okay.
the next meeting.
All right, cool.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
I guess one more question. So I was, as I was looking at this, REMC and CDW, the pricing, the REMC is the state
Pricing.
pricing
correct.
thing, but CDW is basically the same thing. They're just the intermediary.
They're
not two different things. They
no,
could
they're not
provide
two different things.
price
No, but CDW is a authorized seller of the licenses, but they have to follow the RMC licensing pricing.
So it wouldn't cost us if we went directly through the state.
No.
It wouldn't benefit us.
No.
Gotcha.
We can't buy from RMC. They only do the pricing. They're not somewhere we can buy it.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
So I do understand that Microsoft has changed its licensing model, and I do understand that we are locking in this price for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, Microsoft decides that they're going to triple the licensing costs again. That's obviously not sustainable. And so my question would be, at that point, where they are doubling or tripling the licensing costs at the end of a contract, it seems to me as though we need to have an exit strategy. And at some point, because doubling and tripling our software costs is just not, financially, it's just not sustainable. And so what I would ask is that through the course of this contract, you pay attention to what Microsoft is doing license-wise. And if it appears as though these giant increases are awaiting us at the end of this contract, that you start thinking about how to exit from that.
Okay. I think what's challenging is that I think as students come in, again, this is Microsoft in all of our labs. It's not just what we're using in our offices. It's all the labs as well. And certainly when students are going into the workplace, workplaces are using Microsoft. So it's really hard to say, we're going to come in and we're going to train you, but we're not going to train you on Microsoft. So I think that's where the push is going to come, or the challenge. Because I think it's certainly expected that students are expecting to be exposed to the software that they're going to be using in the workplace. But I understand your concern.
I get it, but if we're seeing our software costs for VMware tripling or quadrupling, and Microsoft is coming at us with a triple price increase, the next time this contract ends, if we're seeing a substantial increase, we really need to rethink what we are doing. And I do understand that, as a classroom tool, it's one thing. As a staff tool, it's something else. But it's just over time, I don't see how these giant 200, 300, 400% software increases are sustainable from a financial perspective.
Okay, thank you.
I would think a negotiation would be more plausible than having just a straight exit plan. It's inevitable. It will go up. I would like to believe it wouldn't be a substantial increase as we're seeing, but that remains to be seen down the road. But with anything, I think as we have done with a number of our software products and other things that we are involved here at the college, we are always mindful in seeing how we can negotiate a better strategy to the pricing structure. And I would imagine that that's something that's a given without it being a need.
Right. And this, again, Microsoft is their state level processing in terms of pricing. So we don't get to go to Microsoft and say, we're going to negotiate. It's at the state level through that RE. So anybody that's buying Microsoft through the state of Michigan is using that REMC processing. We don't have any other option except to use what's been negotiated by REMC at the state level.
Correct. And with that, then I would beg to say that given that Microsoft is implemented in a lot of things involving this college, that changing to some other entity wouldn't be the best. So with that said, without deliberating anymore.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to tab I, recommendations for new programs. EVPI Tucker.
Good evening. Before you are 5 new programs that we are looking for discussion tonight and approval next month. I believe there's a PowerPoint somewhere here. Thank you, Casey. Those 5 new programs are an advanced certificate in advanced auto body repair, an associate degree in construction tech, a certificate specifically for education paraprofessionals, an associate degree in engineering tech, and then an advanced certificate in semiconductor and battery manufacturing. I think it's important to note to the board that all these new programs have followed our traditional curriculum and assessment process, starting off with faculty and going through committee and then to my office for approval. And our transfer programs are directly related to requests and interest from our 4-year partners, and then more of our career and tech and pathways are a direct kind of pool and interest from our advisory board and our industry partners. So we never present a program to the board that has not been from kind of those two sources. More specifically, our advanced certificate in advanced auto body repair is a 12-credit certificate. It builds upon an existing kind of entry-level auto body repair certificate. Our advisory board in transportation technologies has really been asking us to have a pathway for students to go into the field with advanced specialized skills, specifically in like composite repair, looking at aluminum bodies, precision welding, and then metal shaping. It's approximately 5,200 jobs in southeastern Michigan. That's utilizing our Lightcast LMS software, LMI software. And we always try to provide a base pay because the base pay for this in southeastern Michigan is $42,300, but that's based upon generally a 40-hour week. A lot of these auto body repair shops are providing incentives, signing bonuses, as well as incentive pay for anything above 40 hours. I think it's also important to note that this is a 12-credit certificate that can be completed pretty rapidly and will get someone who potentially is underemployed or unemployed into the field. And then once again, base pay, knowing that those professionals, that pay is going to swing on a higher end depending on how many hours they work and where they land in terms of employment. Our associate's degree in construction tech. This is a new program in the fact that it is an associate in applied science. It's a 60-credit associate degree. We have had significant interest from both industry partners and our K-12 partners, as there are many jobs being unfilled, not just across Michigan, but specifically in Southeast Michigan, a little over 11,000 jobs and growing. And there is a need to be able to get people in the field. Base pay for this is $49,900, but once again, that's an entry wage, and there are many positions that we're seeing that are upwards of $60,000 to $65,000. Our education paraprofessional certificate The board might remember that we brought to you a elementary education transfer program a number of months ago. Our school districts, our WISD has lifted that there is a significant shortage across southeastern Michigan, not just in the teacher field, but then the paraprofessional field. You might remember paraprofessionals generally were trained from the inside, right? There was someone they took that was an existing staff person, but what the state of Michigan has tried to do is credentialize this field and provide more training. So this is a very short certificate, 16 to 17 credits. The base pay, while only $33,000, is based upon 9 months. And it is a direct entry into the elementary education transfer program. Many of the individuals that will be taking this program, if approved, they are existing workers that want to expand their pay. And more times than not, because of state investment through the Talent Together initiative, Governor Whitmer providing funding to local districts, they're going to be able to come to the college for free, because those school districts are paying kind of their way through. And the goal is to get more credentialed paraprofessionals in the classroom. There's a new expectation for them to do more, but then also to create that pathway, right, to fill not just the 31,000 jobs and growing, but even the jobs from a teacher perspective. We have two programs that are kind of stackable credentials. First is our advanced certificate in semiconductor and battery manufacturing, which nest up to our associate's degree in engineering tech. The certificate is 18 credits. The associate's degree is 60. You might remember we received a significant investment from MEDC, $2 million, to outfit labs to do semiconductors and EV development. This program is aligned with those labs that we're building. We have visited over 20 industry partners across the region, and they're needing talent today. And fun fact, most people don't know that there's a semiconductor manufacturer right here in Ann Arbor, Macom. They're right across the street from Briarwood Mall. And they have wrapped their hands around and joined our advisory board to say, if you get us students, we can fill all of our jobs and provide, a greater wage. There's a base pay swing here, $41,000 for the advanced certificate. So that's someone entering into the field, up to an average of $63,000 for the associate's degree. Those are averages. Most students are going to earn more, but that is kind of from a certificate to associate's degree, that range. And we have numerous concentrations embedded here. We try to, on our CTE pathways, have embedded certificates along the way. So someone that comes in to the advanced certificate that takes the 18 credits, that's going to embed right into the associate's degree. And there's 3 kind of pathways: industrial tech, robotics technician, and then, of course, as I mentioned, semiconductor and battery manufacturing.
Go ahead, Bill.
How did we come together with that semiconductor group? Background there?
Yeah, so MEDC, through our work in advanced transportation, had a roundtable of higher education partners around kind of the future of advanced manufacturing. And we kind of jumped on an opportunity very early on, about 3 years ago, to say, hey, we are already doing this in mobility. We see this as an extension of mobility. And that's why we did the triangle, right? That we see mobility as not just being the car, but it's being the car plus the IT plus the manufacturing. So I think it was kind of being in the right place at the right time, having built a relationship with the state, and the state saying, hey, if you do this, we'll not only provide you the support for the lab, but we also provide you support for the development of those programs. So this is a very unique opportunity in the fact that one of our full-time faculty is fully funded through that grant to help us get this program launched.
Well done.
Sir.
Any other questions on new programs? Go ahead, Eileen.
I know that you and I have discussed the need for high wage, high demand jobs, and some of these programs that you're presenting don't fit, the criteria in Washtenaw County right now for a living wage. The living wage in Washtenaw County is $49.5. And so with some of these programs, with the entry-level salaries being as low as they are, that doesn't help those individuals maintain a household here in Washtenaw County. Specifically with the parapro curriculum, what I have found is that in looking at all of the districts in the WISD service area, we have some districts that are hiring parapros with no educational requirements beyond a high school diploma. And those individuals are working near minimum wage. We have some districts that are hiring paraprofessionals on Title I funds, and Title I funds require that a candidate have 60 credit hours, or they could take the Michigan test for teacher certification, the basic test, or they could get a parapro certification through a private program. And so for those districts, this paraprofessional program, for those districts that require that 60 credit hours for Title I fund purposes, this certificate is not going to get those folks to 60 credits. And for the districts that don't require that don't have that educational requirement, you're talking about salaries that are, there's one district that pays minimum wage, $12.48. There is, and they step up to, $13.78. You've got districts that are paying $15, $16. Regardless, none of those wages qualify as that, living wage in Washtenaw County. So on the one hand, you've got districts that are hiring with no educational requirements, and then on the other hand, you've got districts that are hiring, and the certificate that you are presenting here doesn't meet those educational requirements. And so it's very difficult for me to support that, because on the one hand the wages are too low, and on the other hand the certificate doesn't meet the academic requirements that these folks are going to need to have if they're going to fill those jobs. I might feel better about the program if the program were preparing students for that MTC test or the parapro test, because that is one qualifier that would allow them to take a position without having that 60 credit hour requirement. But if a district is using Title I funds, and those are, for special education students, that 60 hours is going to be hard to move. That requirement is going to be hard to move, because those funds, those requirements come from the funder, which is the federal government. And so my concern with these programs is the entry-level wage. What I don't like seeing is WCC creating programs that essentially generate a commuter workforce. I think people who work here should be able to make enough to also live here. Because if you have to put somebody in a car and they have to drive for a half an hour or 45 minutes to get to their job here, they're simply trading their housing costs for transportation costs. And at some point, that person is going to say, I can't afford to live here, but I also can't afford to commute here. And then the Washtenaw County taxpayer loses the benefit of having trained that person to do a job or fill a position that's here in Washtenaw County.
Definitely hear you, Trustee Peck. I think just to follow up, probably 80% of our CTE programs guide people to what we would call a living wage, 49,000. They're high wage, high demand jobs. But there are probably around 20%, this being one pathway, our early childhood education development pathway is also one that it is sometimes a struggle to see that we have a program that is preparing someone for, in this case, $33,000, right? But one thing that we always try to do is be responsive to our community partners. So this was a direct, I think, conversation, ask, request, plead of our intermediate school district, saying that, hey, we need to help. Can you help us create two pathways? One that's going to be entry at the paraprofessional level. One is going to prepare teachers to be able to transfer to Eastern, most notably to get their 4-year degree. So it is a push and a pull. We want to not turn our back on our community partners that ask us to create those pathways, but we also do recognize that making a livable wage is important. But we do know that, give or take 15 to 20% of our programs, they're not at a $49,000 level, but there are very key positions in our community that if we weren't that pathway, there would be many more jobs unfilled, many more children not taken care of, many small businesses having to shut their doors because they can't get talent.
Have you had any discussion with them about the wages that they're offering? Because frankly, they have so many openings because people cannot afford to take those jobs.
I would.
Go ahead.
Yes, very simply put. But we also, it's a delicate dance too, because we can't say, hey, go pay them $50,000. I wish we could tell them go pay them X. But we do raise that. Specifically, I'll say with our early childhood education program, when we revamped that program about 7 or 8 years ago, the wages were like $13 an hour. It was extremely low. And we had some real conversations with our larger providers and with WISD, because they have an early childhood education division. And those wages have gone up to like $16, $17 an hour. So they have inched up. But one thing that they also noted to us was that, there is a limit as to how much they can pay, because that impacts how much they can charge, and then it places, it increases an equity and access issue. So short answer is yes, we've had those kind of nudges, but there haven't been like, a direct do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Trustee Peck and Brandon, please correct me if I'm incorrect.
Okay.
This is a stackable credential.
It is.
So a lot of times people decide like they're going to become a teacher. Maybe that's the path this person would like to go on. Should they choose to complete the certificate, they would be it's almost like you get a reward for getting at a certain position. And then they can continue on towards their teaching degree. So it is stackable.
That is very correct. And it's also that particular program has a significant amount of investment from the state with Governor Whitmer and 60 by 30 and Leo, that they've been providing districts funding to train their staff. So that was also a driving force behind the development, because we know that there's a large number of students that are going to be able to take this program that are either already working and then are coming back to get this credential, or are going to enter the field and their employer is going to send them here to be trained with no cost to them in some cases.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I've been an advocate for raising living wage ordinances and things like that for many years. and I understand where you're coming from. However, if the positions are there and there is a need, if there are positions to be filled and there are people that are willing to do the training, if they can stack something for the future, great. I said this to you once already. I'd love it if my son took one of these $17 an hour jobs rather than living off the gig economy. And I think there are lots of people out there who would, maybe take an opportunity, especially if it's in something that they might be interested in or might trigger an interest to develop further. So I'm in favor of us doing this, albeit I think it's incumbent upon us to let people know the reality of what the wage expectations will be when they invest the time to get the certificate, but also to let them know what the potential future growth is with stacking further credentials and opening up new doors. So I see this as a positive thing we can do, and meet the needs of some of our other community partners. One thing we could do, if we're training people that are entering this economy and wanting to grapple with these low-wage employers, maybe we, as part of these certificate programs, we should offer a union organizing course, so we can get some of these future low-wage workers to learn the fundamentals of organizing their fellow workers when they get into these positions, to organize a union and negotiate as a group to raise the wages of all of them. I mean, that would be a really fun thing to do, and I think a really forward-looking way to develop the skills of some of these low-wage workers to think in broader terms of what the possibilities are for higher wages. But I'm for these programs. I think they're positive. Hey, let's do a union organizing class so we can teach a lot of our students to organize unions.
Go ahead, Ruth. In the first two, these certificates and associate degree, are there industry standard certifications that come with these programs? I mean, at what point do you get an industry standard certificate rather than just Washtenaw credit?
Yeah, so for some of our programs, we do have embedded industry certifications. We can't, force students. We can encourage them to take. But in almost all of these, like ICAR, when I think about the advanced auto body, ICAR is a national industry recognized credential. Our faculty have gone through the ICAR certification to be able to award those. Once again, we can't force students, but we do generally encourage them, because the running joke out of industry, the more certs you have in your pocket, the greater opportunity you have, right? So to answer the question, yes, in many of these programs we do have industry certs, and students that are presented them, more times than not, generally they try to go after them. Yeah.
So would, for example, the auto body repair, the advanced certificate, would that prepare a student to take the ICAR certificate? Because in researching these certificates and the job potential in Washtenaw County, the higher paying jobs, which you find at the dealerships, that's just a standard requirement. You have to have it. And so, maybe stating that as, to the students who are enrolling in these certificate programs, that the expectation is that you will get this certificate, because, the certificate can make a huge difference, $20,000, $30,000 in the wage that a person is offered. and it can make a difference in whether or not a person is offered a job or not. And so it to me, coupling this certificate, the auto body repair certificate, with that ICAR certification is, something that adds value, 1, to the student, 2, to the employer, 3, to the taxpayer who is paying, to have these programs operated at Washtenaw Community College. And hopefully it includes, additional value to the person who crashes their car and needs their car fixed.
Absolutely. I think it's very timely. President Malaka actually recently requested a list of all of our programs that have industry certifications. And it's something that we're looking to do even more broadly, because I think that there are certain programs where it's known by the industry, it's known by the student coming in, and it's known by the faculty. Hey, for example, go get your ICAR. But I believe that there's an educational lesson that we need to have among our students as well, to your point, Trustee Peck, because there are other disciplines. I think about supply chain, for example. We have a supply chain industry recognized credential that it took a while to get interest, but now it's really more so people know going in that supply chain program, 90% of you need to get this certification. Now, we can't require it, but we highly encourage it. So, point well taken, something actually we're looking at across not just these presented tonight, but all of our CTE pathways.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Dave.
Just to follow up a little bit on that, one of these programs actually has a class, and I'm not sure that this actually does everything you need to train you to get your construction builder's license. But, builders need to be licensed, especially if they go out on their own. If this is a class you can take and do what you need to do to learn how to pass a builder's licensing exam, great. Then you've got people that may just want to take that class, that already have building skills and want to go off on their own instead of working for a contractor, a general contractor. So I see a class there. I don't know if we offer it now or if it's going to be a new class as part of this program, but that's in one of these programs that is, it looks to me just from the name of it, as preparing you to get licensed.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, as we all know, we have very highly qualified faculty, and many of our faculty in these CT areas. I know, for example, a number of our faculty in HVAC and construction, they're residential builders. They're certified, state certified. Our auto body repair and auto service techs are master techs. So they're oftentimes talking up that with the students. So yeah, I think a student who is interested in becoming their own boss, they could take that class or a few classes. And while we wouldn't necessarily have them prepare to sit for the test, we could give them the foundation, because that's governed by the state and stuff like that.
Right.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, there is just one thing. It's actually just a matter of presentation. It has nothing to do with the courses. I'm wondering if, rather than presenting all of these courses in a single motion, if these courses could be presented to the board in separate motions.
Why?
Because I personally can't support committing someone to a poverty wage. Some of these programs I would be, interested in supporting. But if you're preparing somebody who's going to be making $14, $15 an hour after graduating or completing a certificate program, I can't support that.
Dave?
Are there one or two that you'd want to pull out and vote separately, or would you want them all voted individually?
There certainly I would like to consider the paraprofessional certificate separately.
I'd be happy next meeting to make a separate motion for that. My personal feeling is I'm going to argue for all of them, including that one, and hopefully the votes would be there voting for it separately. But or we could make an amendment, like move them all together and then make an amendment to pull that out, which I would vote for, pulling it out, but I would also vote for passing it as a program. But that's, next meeting, how we proceed to get that through and voted on. But out of respect for you being able to put your position on the record, I'd be willing to do that, to make those motions. I don't know how other people on the board would feel about that.
I support all of the programs that are here. I do not support the idea of separating the programs because the programs presented have always been presented in the manner in which they have, just as the next tab, all of the programs that were presented have always been presented. Now, if you want to abstain and say no, that's your prerogative, but I do not see the purpose of separating a particular program because you disagree with that, and you have that option to do that, but to split the presentation to vote on a particular program doesn't make sense. I, just like, and I'm with Trustee DeVarty, I support the programs as they are presented. I understand what you're saying. I understand your position. I think somewhere in your position is a blanket statement. I don't believe everyone that is caught up in the blanket statement would agree that the salaries that are presented here, whether they're entry level, mid, or high level, applies to them. I think that they would be appreciative given whichever economic, social status that they're in. But going through and separating them just because one trustee does not believe that it should be presented in the manner that it has, I disagree with.
I'll think about this before the next meeting. It may be that I'm just going to leave the resolution as is, but you use your discussion time to go on the record your point so that it gets in the minutes. We might just go that way, but we'll think about it over the next 30 days here on what to do, okay?
Sure, but the choice that I'm being left with then is to vote no on all of the programs in order to register the fact that we can't continue to create poverty households in Washtenaw County. 4 out of 10 households in Washtenaw County right now are making enough money to get by, but they're not making enough money to get ahead. And it's really not the job of the community college to continue generating those households. So I don't have a problem voting no on it, and I don't have a problem stating why I'm voting no on it. If you don't want to separate the programs, that's fine. Just in my opinion, it shouldn't be all or nothing.
I understand. I can see it both ways. I'm not sure which way we're going to go, but go ahead, Diana.
Yes. Well, I'm not even going to discuss whatever you want to do in voting. This is a discussion right now. So I don't know why we're really delving into what you're going to vote for, because we're just discussing the program, not what you're going to vote for. And this is what I'm looking at. We need to concentrate on what is it that we want to do, and then we're just talking about it. So whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. However, I do want to say this. What you're talking about is nothing new here. We've been doing this for years and trying to make sure that we have programs that would suit our customers, and our customers are students. That's what we've been trying to do. Another thing I want to say is there's a two-factor for me. The first factor is that when a student comes in and says they want to be a technician, an automotive technician, they know what they want to do. So they may come out of here with a certificate, but they can already have a job, and that would boost up their salary. And secondly, you have to understand, not every student that comes to Washtenaw Community College is from Ann Arbor or Ypsilanti. They could come from Belleville. They can come from Whitmore Lake. They can come from Saline. You understand what I'm saying? So the other factor is this. We do what is asked of us from the community. If they say this is what program I'm interested in, because we're in elementary besides junior and senior. So they decide before they come here. Now, there are some people who come and they're clueless, and that's okay. That's why we have a counseling department. They make up their mind and decision of what they're going to do. And I just want to say what Vice President, you know you were, gave this presentation. It's not like what he's saying. I'm presenting to you what we need to do to move our program forward. And forward means for students who want to come here, take these, and these, if I'm not wrong, correct me, these comes from the state. Oh, excuse me, not the state, but
WISD.
yeah, the ISD. You know, at one time it used to be the state. Excuse me on that. Because I was a counselor in the county. So I did all of this, the Outlook, that's what it was called. So I was getting kids, putting them in programs. I had all of this stuff. I know what's going on with employers. What I'm saying is that we need to open up our ears and our eyes of what we're trying to do here with these presentations that takes a long time to do. And I appreciate every one of these vice presidents and directors who come before us to give this presentation, because it takes time. The only other thing I want to say, I'm done.
Okay. All right. Can we move forward, everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Tab J is the discontinued programs. He didn't move. He's in the same spot. Good.
I'm still here. Still here. So this is the other side of what we do here at the college, right? And I want to remind the board that there's three kind of pathways that we take when we're discontinuing programs. First is when we find after time that a program is no longer of interest to students. We will generally come to the board and ask for discontinuation, but we still have the courses that exist in maybe an associate's degree and it's a certificate, or there's other pathways for students to still have access to the course. So that's kind of the first path. We find that, I'm just going to say, Tucker's certificate is nobody wants it, but we still have the Tucker associate's degree that people want. Those courses are still intact. It's just that the certificate is going away. Second process for discontinuation is when there's a substantive change. An example of that is a program that I presented 5 minutes ago, our construction tech. You might remember that we had a construction program previously that was not a associate of applied science. That was an associate of science. That is essentially considered a substantive change because the program type changed. So while there's a program, I'm asking for approval for our construction, you will see probably this time next year a older construction tech program that we're discontinuing, that students are now in a new program, and the old program, because of the naming convention, has been changed. The third is when we would eliminate an entire program area. And that very rare, but has happened on occasion, and that results in a closure of a department, a reassignment or laying off of faculty, and a reduction of budget. The most severe and the most uncommon. So those are kind of the three pathways to discontinuation. I will tell you that all of the programs that are before you today fall in the first category. That it is discontinuing a program that potentially has low enrollment or low interest, that students are still able to be served by way of another program, or the students have graduated and there's nobody who's interested kind of in that track. So there's the programs before you today are 8. Our advanced certificate in advanced machine tool programming, our certificate in applied data analytics, our advanced certificate in digital video advanced production, our associate's degree in elementary education, which you remember was solved by our new elementary education transfer program, our associate's degree in film studies. However, students that have been interested in film have generally been going through our liberal arts transfer pathway, so they're still being served. No film courses are going away. Our fluid power certificate, foundation of info systems, and then a certificate of completion in introduction to manufacturing processes. So those are 8 programs that we're looking for approval to discontinue. All students that were enrolled at any point in time recently have been served in terms of they either graduated from the program or in the film studies example, they're currently still taking film studies courses just by way of the liberal arts transfer pathway. So this is, once again, the first kind of stage and the most common. So this does generally come to the board annually that we bring not only our new programs, but our discontinued programs.
Questions? I just want to say, could you? Your screen.
I apologize. I did not allow the screen to move. That's probably what you want to see, Trustee McKnight Morton.
Well, I am sorry to see the Associate Film Studies leave.
Under a J.
Associate degree for the Film Studies on the backside. Oh,
Well, the courses are still available.
Yep.
This
okay.
is almost like paperwork. You know, it's such a difficult conversation, other than the last option that,
Yeah.
you know, trustee, I mean,
I saw.
Brandon, referred to.
It's-
Other than that one, you know, where it's a complete discontinuation of the program. We aren't offering any of the courses anymore. It's closed down. For the other ones, they can still take those film classes. That will still be there. But the title, that title
Like
of
the associate degree
program,
will not be the
yeah,
title.
it's just that title won't be there anymore. There isn't,
Okay.
it's so awkward bringing this forward because some of it is a paperwork function. So some isn't, and that's why we're, explaining it. But Trustee Hatcher has it.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Do you have a sense for these 8, when they started? I mean, how long has it been? How often do we shift stuff around like this? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I do. It varies, Trustee Hatcher. I would say, for example, like our digital video goes back to 2013. Elementary education was many years. However, the state changed the requirements significantly, which is why we brought to the board a year ago our elementary education transfer program, which essentially has fully replaced this. Film studies was about 6 years ago. So generally it's anywhere from 6 to 15 years that these programs have been in place.
It just seems paperwork, but it also seems like, I don't know, bowling or something. I mean, they come and go so quickly. Maybe that's responsiveness. Maybe that's not lack of sort of annual planning or, long-term planning, that we know this is going away and we know this is coming. But It's a lot of paper. It's a lot of work.
It is, and I will tell you, these all come up through the departments, to the board, departments, to CNA, to me, to the president, to the board.
You don't flag things on the basis of low enrollment?
Yeah, we do. So another piece of this too is that these all were programs that were a part of our program review process, which we did one a year ago, which resulted in these and others. The program review process, half the programs get reviewed one year, other half get the next. So every 2 years, we're reviewing all of our programs. I do think it's a good thing on the part of the faculty really looking at their program and saying, hey, we're not seeing the interest over here in these cases, but we have these other programs that students are choosing, and let's add resources there. But it is paperwork. It is a process. But I do believe this is happening because our faculty, our chairs, our deans are really looking at their programs and saying, hey, these are on the books. We are not getting enrollment, but we're getting enrolled over here. Let's pivot and maybe add our resources over to the left versus the right.
It is kind of a dance, isn't it? Pivoting and twisting,
Yeah.
twirling. Okay, keep dancing.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I do. How do you define low enrollment? I mean, what hits the mark as?
So I think that there's a couple ways. These particular programs, when we say low, there are currently no students in these programs. So on these 8 programs that are before you, there are currently no students. I think that from a low enrollment perspective, we really look at a ratio because we know, for example, some of our CTE pathways, there's a cap. We know that we only can have about 300 nurses. I think it's 280 to be exact, that can be in the program by our state regs. Other programs that are more niche programs, so when we think about niche, that would be DMA, right? Our DMA program is phenomenal. They're going to be doing stuff at the film festival this week. That program we know is around 80, right? So I think we try to take a holistic approach to each program and what is the capacity that they can take with their labs, with the associated faculty, and then the resources that are allocated, right? When we say low enrollment, I mean, I think that it can be a variety of I think measures, but that's why our program review process really looks at it, as I mentioned, holistically, where it doesn't just look at that you have 70 students and you cost this amount of money. It's, what does a transfer, what does a job outlook look like? What is the industry saying in terms of growth? Because part of the review process is to look at a full picture. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does, but in terms of like peak enrollment, do you have any idea what the peak enrollment for these programs was?
Define for me, if you can, peak.
What is through these programs' existence, what is the highest enrollment they achieved?
Oh, I see what you mean. I think it would vary for program, but it would be anywhere from 25 to probably 50, 60 students. But what's important to know is that this is one program as part of a larger department, right? So if I would say that like advanced certificate, advanced machine tool programming, that cap or peak was probably 25 to 30. That's a part of the advanced manufacturing department with probably 10 programs that have almost 200 students. So that's kind of a moving target too, is that these are part of a larger ecosystem, if that makes any sense.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Next.
I'm still here.
And it's still Mr. Tucker. So now it's the blue software contract.
So this is a contract renewal that we're asking the board to approve. In 2016, we started using Blue to do our student opinion questionnaires. Previous to 2016, was a very labor-intensive process that required us to have admin staff, OPTs, and a contract with Kelly Services to go around and some of you will remember there were these paper manila folders, and they would show up at your class and they would kick you out and they would say come back in 20 minutes, and there would be scantrons, and then we would take all those scantrons, and then one of those people I just mentioned would go and process them. And we had a contract with Kelly Services because we did not want, and Trustee Hatcher probably remembers this, somebody who was a faculty colleague or a random person around campus to see the results of somebody's SOQ. So we were spending approximately around $100,000 of staff time and outside contract to be able to administer these. This was also at a time where we did not have 15 parts of term or as of winter semester 1,909 sections. So now we have 15 parts of term that requires an SOQ for all those parts of term. So we tried to automate this process. Now, I will say that when we first did this, our response rate was not as great. Then when we did this, it shot up really high because we blocked students from being able to get their grades or move forward in their course, which was met with significant outcry from many people, students, parents, even probably lawyers. And so there was one term, I believe fall 17, that it was significantly high. We are working to try to increase the response rate, which in any given semester is around 30%. But I want to remind the board, this is a student choice, right? So the student has the ability to either do the SOQ or not. And with us moving to Canvas, this is something that starting in spring, summer, all of our faculty, whether it's an on-ground, a on-campus, or a virtual course, will be using a Canvas shell for all their graded assignments. So we do think that we're going to have a pretty good uptick in terms of response, because right now, if someone happens to not be using a Blackboard shell, that student may only go into that one time to get their grade, their final grade, for example. So our request of the board is to continue this contract for a total of $209,000, which represents around $69,000 a year. Our previous contract was just under $51,000, so it's about a $17,000 increase annually, but still is significantly cheaper than the labor and the time of having those internal staff conduct this. The last point I want to make, and now any questions the board may have, is that this has evolved into really a campus-wide tool. So while it started off as SOQs, and it still is, it is now our tool that we use for our OPT evaluations, our administrative evaluations, as well as our new faculty evaluation that we piloted last year and that now is in its second phase. Our faculty evaluations will launch in this tool on April 14th of this year. So it is serving multiple purposes across the college.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think a polling response rate of 30% is a very strong number and gives you some good data to work with.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So I had this conversation with Dr. Covert from WTMC, and the 30% response rate is dismal. They use those evaluations for faculty to help determine where they can place their WTMC students, right? And so when they don't get evaluation data, it makes it more difficult for them to know, you know, to sort of manage the success of those students in those classes. And so I understand that, you know, it's easy to get a response when you put a piece of paper in front of someone, and, you know, that's all they have to do for 20 minutes is, you know, fill in circles. And then when you put a QR code in front of someone, they say, well, I'll get to it later, and then they never get to it. So I would just advocate for doing whatever you can do to increase the response rate, because regardless of what the college uses the outcome of those evaluations for, they are extremely important to WTMC. And so if it means, you know, connecting it with Canvas can, you know, increase that response rate, just understand that those response rates are very important to WTMC.
Absolutely. And that is the blue tool will sit atop of Canvas, and it will be embedded in every Canvas shell. And as I mentioned, starting in spring, summer, we're making it mandatory for faculty to use that across any modality. So we do think that there will be not only just increased response in the SOQ process, but increased feedback specifically to our WTMC students and all of our students, right? We know that student success is driven by positive and productive and consistent feedback. And so that's something that I know the faculty are committed to, and that we're working hard in our CITL division to make happen.
Thank you.
Hey, Ruth has got her hand up.
Go ahead, Ruth. On the blue platform, is there space on the SOQ for comments?
There is.
And what happens to the comments?
So if it is a full timer, the dean of that area gets the results so many days after the term is ended and the stuff is processed. If it is a part-timer, let me say if it's a full-timer and or an adjunct. If it is a part-timer, the chair gets that feedback within so many days after the term as well. If we see that, and the deans and the chairs are looking at that, I mean, I think everybody probably has on their Outlook calendar the date of when it's released, and then you get an email. They are looking at that every term to flag, I think, good stuff, to say, hey, you did something, you know, good, kudos. Or if there are things that we want to try to challenge, you know, to address challenges or coach, we look at that as well. So there are questions that get a score, and then there is comments that people can make.
I mean, I think that 30% is not great compared to what you used to get, which was a bunch of data about teachers. Nothing about whether they were being professional in their duties. And you're not getting that now. Now you may be getting it for your staff, because you do use it for staff evaluations, as I understand it. And there's another evaluation that the faculty do. This is from my son, obviously. They set their goals or something, and whether they met them or not, or what they did during, you know, sort of like the Doge questions. What did you do yesterday that was important?
No. The faculty evaluation is nothing like the Doge questions. It is much more reflective.
Yeah.
And it's tied to them really highlighting what they did over that term. It's every 2 years they're evaluated. That will be in this tool, and those that were evaluated in fall of 24, it was done through like electronic SharePoint.
Yeah.
It will be done through Blue this time. Same tool, and that's been a tool that we've worked with WCCA on to in every faculty classification, all 9 of them have a separate tool that, you know, evaluates their progress and their process.
It's working for faculty, for staff. It's working half-assed for faculty.
Well, it
But
hasn't
you're
it
not-
hasn't been launched yet for faculty
Well,
in this.
but the process has worked, and faculty obviously know they need to do it. So your response rate is probably pretty good from faculty. But you got a problem with students, and that's very important. I don't know if it's important to WTMC, but it's important for other students. So I don't know. What I'm trying to suggest is that maybe you try to do both, or you try to think of a new way of doing this faculty student evaluations. But we've never ever had a successful student evaluation system here. And I don't know if it's impossible, then just don't do it.
Well, no, we want to do it because we want to hear the voice of the student. That's important. We are looking at some ways that we can incentivize the students to be able to take the survey. You know, with it being optional, it is a little bit different than a staff or faculty who it's tied to your job and you've got to do it. But we are looking at some ways that we can incentivize because it's important to us. We want to get that number up. For WTMC and just for the college to know, and for faculty to know, right? I mean, because they get an opportunity to showcase their great work and have that conversation with their dean, but we also want to make sure the voice of the student is there. So it is something that we're working hard to try to increase that rate. We do believe everybody having to use Canvas will be one, and then incentives will be another way.
Know how to get it, and it's expensive. The $100,000, whatever it was. You got it when you did that.
I would say we got it, but I won't say that it wasn't 100%. It wasn't 80. That, you know, maybe that rate was 50 or 60%.
At all.
It was never there because it was voluntary, right? So students did not have to do it, and some students did it. I taught a class that 3 people in the class who were in there actually did it, and there were 25 students.
So you've never been able to get student opinion about evaluation of their classes.
I will say we never.
I mean, more than 50%. You haven't been able to do that, ever.
I cannot say that for sure because I don't have it in front of me. I recognize it's a challenge that we have in front of us and that we're going to work really hard to get it done to improve that rate.
If I may, we talked about this today. Same conversation and questions that everyone's asking. So we talked about the response rate and how it had to be raised and what could we do. So I know Brandon does, we appreciate your comments and questions, especially, you know, if you're a teacher, you know that you want to know how your students think you did, how you performed. So we talked about that, and this is the data we have thus far, but it's going to be better. We agree. It should be more.
Go ahead, Dave.
A better process.
I'm interested in thinking how Blue could be used more expansively in like 360-degree review processes of administrative staff, where you get superiors, underlings, colleagues that are at the same level, but you can incorporate a review process. If this Blue, using it to faculty questioning, student opinion questionnaires is one thing, but is this something that could be a tool that could assist in helping build a stronger administrative staff by incorporating in review processes? I don't know what review processes already exist at that level, but is this a tool that could be used to enhance what we do at that level of reviewing performance?
I'm going to defer that to HR or the president.
Well, I want to make sure this is just a
it's-
platform. Blue is just a platform. It's not an instrument. So the SOQ is something that we create and we deliver it on this platform.
But I'm saying if we're buying this platform, maybe there are more ways that we could use it that would be beneficial to the organization. Just throwing that out there.
Well, there may be.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Okay, moving forward to tab L, the Siemens contract renewal. Mr. Whipstock, you're up.
I'd like to present to you the Siemens agreement, the renewal 3-year service agreement. The Siemens system is a system that operates and controls our building, or it's a building automation system that controls and monitors our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. It's also part of our scheduling program where we can shut off areas or buildings or lower the temperature automatically through this system. Provides monitoring and response remotely from the Siemens network as well. Part of this agreement is that they provide weekly on-service or on-site technicians. They help us perform preventative maintenance on the system and troubleshooting. They also provide 7 days a week, 24 hours a day service emergency response as part of this within 2 hours and up to 60 hours per year. The other part of this is that we started about 3 years ago was a HVAC recommissioning program where we go and take a third of all of our HVAC units campus-wide and we conduct recommissioning of those air handling units. So basically what they would do is come in, they would test sensors, make sure that the actuators are operating properly, basically ensuring that those air handling units are up to design conditions. It's not a contract, it's a pricing agreement for 3 years. It would start July 1st of this year and end in June 30th of 2028. One of the negotiated portions of this is that they only increase the price by 3.5%, and they're going to hold that price for the 3 years. That's it.
Any questions? Go ahead, Ruth.
What was the Siemens service agreement we approved in November?
That was a 1 year or 6 months. I'm sorry, a 6-month contract to get us to this fiscal year. So we wanted to align it with the fiscal year of that contract. So that's why it would start July 1st.
And do you remember how much that was for?
It was 90. Offhand, I can't remember.
Something like that.
Or,
Okay.
or 105 or something, if I remember right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, tab M, proposed changes to policy 4095. Provost Blakey.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to you today about a proposed change for policy 4095, which is the Student Rights, Responsibilities, and Conduct Code. Policy 4095 is our student conduct code. It's been in place since 1994. It was last updated in 2014. I bring this forward today because there's a new federal law called the Stop Campus Hazing Act that was signed into effect in December of 2024. There's two sections. There's protected populations that are talked about in our student conduct code. And we took the opportunity, since we were making this update, to add the hazing language to update the protected categories that follow the State of Michigan Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. Those two sections are the discriminatory harassment section and the discrimination section. The protected populations, the categories are religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, height, weight, marital status, disability, veteran status, or any other protected status as provided for and to the extent required by state and federal statutes. Council Barkoff noted that we've added that required by state or federal statutes. So if there's something else that's added by the state or the federal government, it's covered under this without us having to come back with a policy change. The Stop Campus Hazing Act, again, was signed into effect in December of 24. It requires colleges and universities to add hazing to our conduct policies by July of 25. It also requires that we compile and disclose statistics on hazing incidents and include that category of incidents on our annual security report. We also have to publish semi-annual campus hazing transparency report. And this report would publish specific information on anti-hazing policies and hazing prevention programs. So we'll be providing training programs across campus. If we have not had any hazing incidents, but if we did, the law requires that we provide specific information about how that hazing occurred. And again, a lot of times on campuses with sororities and fraternities, you would indicate the fraternity or sorority where that hazing incident occurred. Hazing definitions is also included in the updated policy. It talks about, this is an overview of the definitions. The details are in your packet. But, hazing is committed in the course of an initiation to a student club or organization. It causes or creates risk. It includes things like whipping, beating, striking, coercing. It's really any activity that induces, causes, or requires another person to perform a duty or task that involves a criminal violation of local, state, tribal, or federal law as well. So this is the first reading of the update for Policy 4095, and we would be bringing the second reading at the next meeting.
Any questions? Go ahead, Ruth.
What if the government removes some protected status?
Ask Larry that question.
Well, we'd have to come back to the board to change the language.
Okay. Questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair. Trustees, for two things. First of all, when I was acknowledging the dean that was responsible for the art show, I didn't say her name. And I couldn't even think about it for a minute. Did it ever happen to you? Her name is Dean Ann Nichols. So thank you so much for the work that you've done for this art show. And I really want to make sure everyone, please, I encourage you to go and see it, especially the Adam and Eve one. That one is really good.
Interesting.
They're all great. But also in your packet, I asked Vanessa to get each of you a copy of this Detroiter because it talks about all the ways AI is being used in business. And we are just experimenting, learning about it here at the college. But I thought you might want to just take a look at this. It's a very interesting, it's just really interesting about how it's impacting the business world in Detroit and just hearing some things. So AI's here to stay, I guess. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving forward to tab N. Yep, there's one more.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
We got a couple more. This is our action item for the night, resolution to reaffirm the founding principles. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees reaffirm the founding principles, purpose, and commitment to the mission through the Board of Trustees resolution. And for the people who might be listening, I am going to read the resolution out for the record. Whereas Washtenaw Community College was established to make a positive difference in people's lives through accessible and excellent educational programs and services, and to provide caring, open-door teaching and learning environment that supports student success, and whereas WCC embraces teaching and learning as its central purpose, offering excellent instruction, counseling, and support services, while reaching out to individuals who have limited income or other barriers to success, ensuring that all students have the opportunity to progress in their academic and career pursuits, and whereas the college remains firmly committed to upholding its historic and legal obligations under the Michigan Community College Act of 1966, ensuring access to both liberal arts and career technical education, with the goal of equipping individuals with the skills necessary for meaningful employment and community contribution. And whereas WCC operates with the values of support, diversity, partnerships, and innovation, respecting differences in people and ideas, fostering trust and honesty and collaboration with the communities it serves, and continuously seeking the best possible ways to conduct its work. And whereas WCC's vision as a learner-centered, open-door college is dedicated to student, community, and staff success, offering a wide spectrum of community college services with an emphasis on premier transfer and career educational programs that enhance workforce development and community engagement. And whereas WCC is committed to student success, prioritizing learning, satisfaction, and continuous improvement of programs, processes, and structures while increasing accessibility through learning technologies, workplace experiences, and flexible scheduling. And whereas WCC is committed to community success by developing a highly skilled workforce, partnering with employers to provide customized training, and strategically aligning with businesses, government, labor, and other educational institutions to ensure responsive and adaptable educational programs. And whereas WCC is committed to staff success by fostering teamwork, professional development, and continuous learning, ensuring that faculty and staff align their work to improve teaching and enhance student and community learning. Now therefore be it resolved that the Washtenaw Community College Board of Trustees formally reaffirms the principles upon which the college was founded, including open access, educational opportunity, and commitment to student success. The college remains dedicated to ensuring a non-discriminatory, fair, and welcoming learning environment that reflects the needs of its students, faculty, staff, and the broader Washtenaw County community. The college will continue to uphold its legal and ethical obligations under state and federal laws, ensuring anti-discrimination, equal opportunity, and a welcoming campus for all. Whew. That was quite a mouthful there.
Read well. Read well.
So this is our, this is action item for tonight. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
Does this add to the our big thick, what do you call it?
Policy manual?
Policies and procedures?
No, this actually was developed by looking back at archival material from the founding of the college, on multiple board policies, and the Michigan Community College Act.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the mission statement.
No, it does.
Well, the mission statement is embedded in it.
So this replaces.
Oh, no.
the current-
It's just a reaffirming that the mission statement, the purpose for the establishment of the college, and all of these ideals were reaffirming.
Yeah, but the mission statement still exists.
Yes,
and
absolutely,
will
yes,
exist.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Nothing has changed.
Any
The new
questions or comments on this? Go ahead, Dave.
Have we moved this already?
We have not moved it yet.
I moved this.
Okay.
Any second?
I'll support.
Second.
All right. Any other questions? Or go ahead.
I heartily endorse this. I think given the current climate in this country, it's important that institutions like ours reaffirm the underlying principles that we were founded on. And this lays it out. And the way you read it says it all. I strongly support it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you. All right. So it's been moved and seconded. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Treasurer DeVarty,
Vardy, yes.
Secretary Hatcher,
Yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton,
Yes.
Trustee Milliken,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Tab O, revising the schedule for the board meetings. Where is that at? There it is. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees revise the 2025 schedules and hold the March Spring Retreat on the 27th, which is Thursday, at 5 p.m. in the seminar rooms of ML building.
This week.
Yep, that's this building. Do I hear a motion? Second?
Yes.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this? None? Okay, Vanessa, call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yeah.
Treasurer DeVarty,
Already, yes.
Secretary Hatchers,
Yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton,
Yes.
Trustee Milliken,
Yes.
Trustee Peck.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the monthly meeting.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.